Hi Anjali, hi everyone.
Hello, ma'am. How are you? Am I audible to
Wait a
you?
sec, I can't hear you. Is it you or me?
I
I
just
can
need to check.
I can hear you now.
Okay, perfect. I'm audible to you, ma'am, right?
That's right. Can you see me and hear me well?
Yes, ma'am. I can see you.
Is
So, ma'am,
everybody
can we get?
online or there's some people with you in the room? I can see some people in the room. Great. Hi guys.
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, I think there are about 50 students who have already joined the
Nice.
meeting. I think we can start.
Sure. Is it time? Those who were meant to start at I think we still have 5 more minutes.
Yeah, we have approximately here, we have 3 more minutes. So, I guess we can wait 3 more minutes and then we can start.
I have time,
That
no
would be
worries.
best.
As long as
Perfect, ma'am.
yeah, I'm not rushing.
Okay, sure, ma'am. Ma'am, I think we can start now.
Sure.
We are all ready. So,
Great.
good afternoon, everybody. It's truly an honor to welcome you all today on behalf of Army Institute of Management, Kolkata. And it's a very special day because we have among us a stellar leader, an inspiring alumna, and someone who continues to make us immensely proud, Miss Neetha Nair, ma'am, from our MBA-4 batch. So, Ms. Neetha Nair, ma'am, currently serves as the Chief Human Resource Officer at Prudential Assurance Company, Singapore, one of Asia's most prominent names in insurance and financial services. Adding another jewel to her crown, she was recently recognized among the 50 most influential women HR leaders of 2025 across Southeast Asia by ETHR World Southeast Asia. Now, her journey from corridors of AIMK to the global corporate stage is truly a story of courage, resilience, and leadership. We're thrilled and grateful to have her with us today for this interactive fireside chat. Welcome, ma'am. It's an absolute pleasure to have you back with our AMK family.
Thank you, Anjali. Thank you so much. I'm just truly humbled and honored. Thank you for the lovely introduction. But I'm also honored that 69 of you at this point, and maybe some in the room, have made time to just listen to me and speak to me. Hopefully, it's not going to be a one-way monologue, hopefully. But it's an honor and a privilege. And I'd just like to take the moment to thank all of you who are spending this evening and the next 1 hour with me, as well as I think, Brigadier Dr. Chaudhary, Professor Roy, Anjali, all of you who have invited me and for preparing for this session. So I'm looking forward to refreshing my memories from NIMC for me. At that time, it was called NIMC and now AIMK
Yes,
days.
ma'am.
So look forward to this chat, Anjali. And I'm hoping people will be asking or responding to questions rather than this being my one-way speech, by the way.
Definitely, ma'am. We are all very excited to start. So, ma'am, to start with, we'd love to go back in time a little. So, ma'am, could you please share with us your journey during your AIMK days, maybe a story or two that you fondly remember, and how the college, the AIMK, or as I would say, NIMC, has shaped your career foundation?
Wow, lots of memories. And I was reflecting in preparation for today, and so I was trying to remember. Well, there's lots of fun memories of hanging out on campus. I'm sure you guys do that as well. We used to be in the Momentpur Judges Court campus, so there was a cafe and a adda where everybody would catch up. We would go out to the Momentpur market, and there'll be Kullad Wali chai. I don't know if you guys know all that, and you do enjoy some of it. Rushing to classes just to be there on time and stuff like that. This all fond memories. A lot of things that I can't even share. So it's I know everybody does the fun stuff too. But if I was to go back to your question and uh, career foundation wise, it's quite interesting as you say that I'm reminded of something. In one of our service marketing or HR classes, we had a guest faculty who had come in, and she was at that. I remember she was from PwC then, and she was still consulting. She came in and spoke to us. I forget what topic, but she stood there in front of us physically on the stage, and I was in the audience like you are in class. And I remember looking and saying, wow, you could actually work and be a consultant and actually come and speak to students and explain the real application. And that was awesome for me as I was sat there. And I hope and wish I'm going to be standing there one day talking to students of an IMC. So it's a dream come true for me, if I may say so. And I may just bark in that moment for it's a dream come true moment to some extent. But there's an aspect of that memory that struck me like, oh wow, I had actually at one point wanted to come back to AIMK and speak to everybody. So that's one thing that stood out for me. But other than that, from a career foundation point of view, if I was to think about it, lots of things. Uh, Many things I developed after, but if I really, look at where it all started, then I think the appreciation of interdisciplinary linkages. So I know that all of you have passion towards either HR, marketing, finance, whatever it is, and many a times it's just a chore and a pain to go to the other class and sit through that. But I think what you learn essentially, and I hope you would do more of if you aren't already, is finding a way to connect the dots. That's a skill that is very important today, has stood well in my career. I mean, stood me well in my career as well, to be able to connect across how marketing principles could be applied to HR and how HR principles and foundations are applied to finance and operations management and vice versa. Whether it's a consulting job or not, even today in my leadership role, those are basic foundations for me. So get your foundations very right. And that's what I got out of it. So I would say it helped me become a jack of all trades and a master of one. That's a principle I hold through my career. You have to be T shaped, as we call it in HR, know enough about different disciplines, connect the dots, and be a specialist and a master of one. So, foundationally, that's one of the key things I would say, Anjali, that it really helped me. It gave me the platform and the information and the knowledge from AIMK. And the other thing was, I think we're very good at this, either because we are Indians or most of us come from the defense background. And I know some students are not from the defense, but we know to be street smart. And I think it helps. And if you are one of those who hasn't really exposed yourself to things in life and, in your interactions, learn to be street smart. And what I mean by that is you won't get it in your classrooms. It's putting yourself out there to do different internships, projects, having difficult conversations, building perspective, trying to understand what is the right balance around things. So being very studious is not a disadvantage, but is not enough. And that street smartness, I would put a name to it as we Indians are pretty jugadu. We know how to do jugad. I don't know if that's, yeah, sticks with you guys, but resourcefulness. And I think that is something that you develop as you're doing your MBA projects. So for me, career foundation wise, in summary, if I was to just go back, one was to be able to connect the dots across disciplines and that foundation. And the second was to be resourceful. Sorry, long answer to your question.
No, ma'am, we were very much, I guess. So, yeah. So, ma'am, I'm very much excited to ask other questions, and it was very insightful as you have responded and as you have given your response, and very particularly as you've mentioned the T shape concept. It was very new for me, and thank you so much for sharing that, ma'am. So, moving forward to my next question. If I shift gears a little, and so you have stepped out of the campus into the corporate world. It is a leap many of us are preparing for right now. So, can you please explain to all of us, ma'am, how was your first transition like?
Wow. It wasn't ideal. I was briefly sharing with Anjali and Professor Roy the other day. I didn't get placed from campus. So I'm one of those who never got placed from campus. It was 2002. I think I'm MBA batch 4, so very early batches. We didn't get full placement to start with. It was a tough year. I don't think there was a financial crisis, but it just wasn't a great year. And HR, of all things, my specialization was last in the order anyway for placement. So transition was not so easy, but it wasn't bad either. I mean, I didn't miss anything by not getting placed because I was clear that I would do it my way. And I think one thing I can say is I stuck to it. So as much as my parents said, see, sales lena chahiye tha, it's sales would have been better, finance would have been better, not HR. Uh, I knew that that's the subject that I like and I have a passion for, and I when I enjoy it, I'll do it well. So I stuck to it. It was tough. So if I really think about it, I didn't get placed, like I said. Calcutta, where there were no placements, I moved to Mumbai. And the fun fact is, I searched for about 2 months once I got to Mumbai. So I walked Nariman Street, as you would know, Nariman Point. In those days, hard copy letter with CV and cover letter, put it in every mailbox. And I actually walked that, every day. Took up the yellow pages and went through each page to see which company could I be applying for. So at that time, while there was email, this is very early, but people didn't look at emails as much. So I would call the reception and say, "Can you connect me to the HR department?" I must have made hundreds of calls, but only one answered. And when it did, it opened the door for me. And which is also a funny story. It was probably around this time or 6 p.m. And the security guard said, "Sab ghar chale gaye, there's nobody, but somebody's passing by, I'll give the phone to him." And he said, "Send the CV, we don't have a role, but maybe." Interestingly, as things line up, after all those no's and no response, next day I get a call, "Can you come? We may have a contract role for you." And I said, "Okay, no, I'm looking for a permanent role. Sorry, I'm an MBA and I think I should get one of those." I said, "Okay, what's the harm? Go do an interview." I must have done well because I did a back to back, 3 rounds of interview the same day, all the way up to the CHRO. And they said, "Okay, we'll give you an amount which I wasn't happy with. It was probably one third of what my batchmates were placed at. And it was a contract role. And I said, "Sorry, I really don't want to box myself into a contract, low paying role. Then it sets the tone for the future." So I didn't want to burn my bridges. And I told my later becoming my first boss, first manager, I said, "I look for 2 more weeks or 4 weeks, and if I don't get something, I'll come back. But otherwise, I'm not accepting it." So she promptly called me in 4 weeks and said, "You didn't get anything, right? Do you want to come give it a try?" So I went in, and all I would say is I worked for 3 months as contract, must have done well, got converted to permanent. 3 years, three promotions. When I left ICICI Prudential in 2002, I was managing a 500 region staff, strong region in Western region for ICICI Prudential. So if I really think about it, transition wise, I think all the skills that I had, you said the career foundation one, your earlier question, and knowing that I wanted to be in HR and I like the space and I'm passionate about it, and I stuck to it, maybe call it perseverance of sorts. Uh, I think I made the most of it. So it's not just where you come from, but where you want to go and what you make of it is my reflection of that. Did I answer your question? I may have gotten. diverted somewhere.
Ma'am, no, ma'am, you have not diverted at all. It's truly inspiring to hear from you, especially for all of us who are still, some of us who are still struggling to find our final placements, or some of the students, some of the junior batch students are still trying to find their summer internships. So, thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your story, your experience. And following up on that question, I would like to ask one more question to you that in hindsight, is there any particular skill or habit that, if developed during the MBA years itself, would have made the corporate phase even smoother, or not? If not for you, if you can guide us how it can be made smoother for us, for the junior batch and for the current batch itself.
Right. I'd link it back to my first reflection where I did say about being a jack of all trades. And I think that is a very important skill set because assume I hadn't gotten an HR job and I had to pivot. I should have known little or something well enough about another discipline. Not just that, a skill set of being able to connect the dots. That's what comes from the interdisciplinary piece is something that is very critical in the corporate world. So today or in my years of working in HR or otherwise as a leader, when I'm looking for talents, I'm looking for people who can connect the dots. So don't underestimate that. And that only comes from developing, having discussions, being curious about different information and not just your specific specialization. It only comes from discussing it with different your peers and different teachers and mentors, and as much as you may think somebody doesn't have something to offer, just listening to their perspective, it may be negative, positive, there's something, a signal in many of this noise. There's always a signal in the noise, as I say. So hear different perspectives, build your point of view. Your point of view may or may not be something that finally gets accepted, sometimes because there's a better point of view, or sometimes because there's a perspective that a more experienced team member has, which you have not had before. But having your point of view, putting across uh, a view that this could be a recommendation or next step, right? Those are kind of skill sets. So back to being able to connect the dots. The second thing I would say is being ready to roll up your sleeves and do anything, and smartly so. Not saying that you should just put your head down and be, behind the laptop and do those excels. That's not smart either. That's not being street smart. You've got to find a way to do your work, position your work, talk about it, and so positioning, learning how to position things. I wish, I mean, through the years, I thought about it. I wish I developed my presentation skills, my communication skills a lot more. And many a times, I think whether it was college or MBA, I would hold myself back because you're afraid of being judged by your friends and peers, and oh, they laugh at you as how you did it. And it's okay. It's a safe space. Let people laugh at you. You build that competency, which is going to be really important when you get to the workplace. It's the end in mind. Doesn't matter what it is now and who says what. So, putting yourself out there for all these experiences, so called mistakes, I never call anything a mistake, it's a learning, is important. And that skill set of being able to present your point of view confidently, communicate with impact, those are skill sets I would say you should practice. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So I think hearing that, some of us might have a few questions, and there are students from HR Club itself who are attending this session right now. So I would like one of you who are having any question, you can come ahead and ask the question.
I see 95 people out there. I am so stoked. Ooh, 95 people wanting to hear me. So I'm hoping to hear from some, whether it's on the chat or if you want to unmute yourself. Uh, Please, I'd love to hear from you. Do you guys still do this as how's the Josh? Do you do that? I don't know if there was a mantra we had, and we would
Yes,
every time
ma'am. We still
say,
do that.
how's you have that. Awesome. Okay, I see some thumbs up there. Thank you. I'd love to, at the end of the session, Anjali, if we could get everybody to unmute and then say, how's the Josh? I'd love to hear how's the Josh after the session and give me some feedback. But open to questions from people. I'd rather hear from some in the room or on the chat.
Yeah. So I think Shruti, you can go ahead. You can ask your question.
Um,
Shruti,
We
you're
can't
not
hear you,
audible
Shruti.
actually. I think you're trying to speak, but you're not audible.
Can't hear you.
Can you please try again? Any one of you sitting there?
Good afternoon, ma'am. Am I audible?
You're
No,
echoing, which is
actually, yeah, there's a lot of.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Ojaspa, can you please unmute yourself and do one thing? I think there are a lot of people attending the session from the same room. That is why there's an echo. So, can you please just ask everybody to unmute and then you can ask your question, maybe?
you have to ask everybody to mute and one person to unmute.
I think I said the other way around.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I'm so
That's what I
sorry.
meant. It's okay. Oh, why don't you chat? Whoever wants to ask. Adrika has unmuted herself.
Any one of you can
Um,
go ahead.
I'm so
Yes.
sorry for the inconvenience, but am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Very good evening, ma'am. Uh, my name is Shruti Acharya, and on behalf of AIMK, I think Anjali ma'am, she has already done that, but it's actually amazing to see somebody like you join us. I had gone through I had gone through your LinkedIn profile, and it was absolutely stunning,
Oh,
very
thank you.
inspiring. Ma'am, my question to you is actually, you have had an incredible journey. Now, I have seen it in the LinkedIn. Right. Now, when I'm listening to you, I did get to know definitely it was not a very easy one. So, what I see is a lot of courage from my side.
Thank you.
Now, I do feel that I do resonate with this. And as someone who herself did not have a very linear career path, and as somebody who has had gap years, and very honestly speaking, ma'am, times have changed a lot, right? So, what kind of advice would you give a person like me? As you are a recruiter right now, you know the trends, right? You're a global HR leader. I have no inhibitions. Like, if you try to be humble about it, I would say you're a global HR leader. And what kind of advice would you give to people like me who have a non-linear career path, considering the time that we are in right now, where technology is so much, it's all around us.
Totally. Thank you for that question, and then thank you for all the compliments. I'm truly humbled. If I was to just tell you to consider everything that you see as a negative, and I say negative as it's a gap year, I didn't make it there, I don't have ABC qualification, everything that you see as a gap, and position it as an advantage. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Uh, Gap year is excellent. I mean, it's just unfortunate that people say, oh, you have a gap in your studies. But if you did something about it, whether it was preparing for another exam, whether it was doing internship somewhere else, whether you had to take care of a family member for whatever challenges you may have had, you have developed some skills, whether it's perseverance, whether it's whatever you did on in preparing for it, some new knowledge. It's about demonstrating your skills. It's no more about, at least globally, and I know in India it may be a little more challenging, but at least more and more, and I think India is progressing in that sense when we are hiring freshers as well. We're looking at skills based hiring. That means you have to be able to articulate what skills you bring to the table. So you may be in different disciplines, but I'm ultimately looking for tenacity, ability to handle ambiguity, tolerance of any such hardships, and being able to collaborate, having an EQ. You could develop that through anything. It's how you position, and that's one of the skills I was saying you should develop, is how do you position a learning from anything that you've learned, experienced, and sometimes it needs a lot of reflection. It needs conversations. So when you say that, how do I position myself? I think it's how you speak about it, and you've got to own it. You had a gap year for whatever reason. If you had it, what's wrong? That's the best thing. In fact, it's very interesting in the so-called Western world or outside. It's not so much in Southeast Asia as well, but gap year is something that people look forward to. And if you're lucky enough to be able to sustain it, then that 1 year's experience after college or something is great. In fact, many people across the world, and it's only very typical of India, where right after graduation you go into MBA. People usually work for a few years and then go into MBA. So there are very different ways in which, in India we perceive these things. But for a company that truly values skills, a company that values the kind of culture and future leaders one wants to build, who are forward looking, who've got that innovative spirit, collaboration, tenacity, tolerance of ambiguity, they're looking for portfolio skill sets. They're not looking for just a degree. And that's why it doesn't matter you come from an IIM, an Ivy League. Today in Singapore, I can't speak for Prudential India for now, ICICI Prudential, but in Singapore and in many other countries in Southeast Asia, when we hire, we don't hire from management schools. And I don't care if it's from a polytechnic, I don't care from its, NUS, the National University of Singapore, which is one of the top here. We put people through assessments, we put them through assessment centers and interviews, and I'm looking for skills. So if you're really feeling that your dream company or what you're aspiring for, you don't fit into some of those tick boxes, maybe there are better places to apply. And it may be a tougher journey, it may take a little more time. If, as I was sharing my story, yeah, it wasn't ideal for me to start at one third the salary as a contract, but then you make the most of it. And it's a cross country race, it's a marathon. You'll speed up, you'll slow down, you'll get there. But if you're enjoying it, that's all you need. So if you're enjoying your space, in short, own it, reflect on what you have learned, and be able to present it as a skill set that you have, which is important for you to deliver that role or be a professional and a talent. Long answer again. Does that help you?
So, Shruti, you can speak if you wish to.
Or just put in the chat. I
Yeah.
don't agree is also fine. I'm happy to add on. It's my point of view.
So my first question is am I audible or not?
Yes, you're audible,
So ma'am,
Shruti.
it was absolutely just what I meant. I have asked a very long question, so definitely a long answer. We look forward, but thank you so much, ma'am. It really helped.
No problem. Just ensure you guys are talking about skills. It's no more qualifications. That's table stakes. Talk about the skills that differentiate you and what is it that the world needs. And I truly mean what the world needs as a society, versus just talking about qualifications that you come with, and where you come from doesn't matter.
Really, ma'am. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the response. So, moving forward, what fascinates us even more is your cross-border stint. So, you have worked in Singapore. You're currently working in Singapore, which must have been an exciting, which I know, and yet challenging experience. So, ma'am, can you please tell us how that opportunity came about, and what were some surprising cultural differences you experienced at the workplace there?
Wow. It is another interesting story. In short, marry right. Well, I moved to Pune from Mumbai because my husband was based there then when I got married. He was working in Pune with Citibank. Later in the year, he got an opportunity with Citibank Singapore, and so I moved around with him as a trailing spouse. But that doesn't mean that I got a job through that. So obviously, I had to try, that. But if I was to really say, if I had to go out and try, I also did a stint in New Zealand, and that was something that I asked for and went and did. But that was through the company. So there are many ways to actually kickstart something like that and get that opportunity. I would say if you are already working in a company in India and earn your stripes, internal mobility is the easiest because somebody backs you up. for that opportunity, or you see those opportunities abroad. If you really have to go in and start from scratch, which is what I had to do in Singapore, then you again have to earn your stripes, and people don't know what you've done and where you've come from, and they have probably a lot of misinformation sometimes, biases sometimes. It was very funny. I'd managed a team of five, or a staff strength of 500 just as an HR manager with 3.5 years. And for some recruiters in small companies, I was like, as oh, you're managed a staff strength of a HR head. So sorry, we can't. And not that I'm looking to be an HR head with 3.5 years of experience when I come into Singapore. But people have those because they believe then your expectations are going to be such, and you don't have the skill sets to roll up your sleeves and do all of that. So talk about skills essentially. I started. I mean, most of my roles, if I just think about it, other than the first one in ICICI Prudential, has been through networking of sorts. So you speak to someone, and then they so-called vouch for you and connect you. So it was that somebody sent my CV across, and then I get the interview. So one is, it's important to be out there to connect, and especially if you're in a new country. um, Once that's just the opportunity, then the interview and what you make of the job is for you, right? So I joined a recruitment firm for 2 years. And again, that was not my ideal job, because being HR, I wanted to actually, I prefer to be in a corporate HR role. And so for me, I thought it's going to be a stopgap. But in the 2 years, again, a recruitment or a search firm role is a sales role, and you develop those skills to be able to business develop and sales. So that's what I took away. I had the opportunity to set up some large back offices for investment banks at that time. This is 2005 and 6. And whether it was Barclays, Credit Suisse here, Citibank, so on. Deutsche, they were setting up back offices, and it helped that I knew India as a market. So I would travel to India and find the right talent from various banks and pitch them for roles here, and recruit. That gave me a lot of exposure into how the banks were setting up shared services and stuff. So again, I spoke about those skill sets. But if you really look at it, I could have spoken about just HR and recruitment, because the next job I got was consulting. And over the 10 years that I spent as a consultant, was in my specialization today's transformation. So while HR is my master of one, I have actually done finance, supply chain, customer operations, and many other transformations of setting up COEs and shared services. Where I'm going with that is, you have to be out there to, again, flex yourself into different domains. And whatever you get as a starting point, be able to demonstrate how that skill sets that you've built. You could look at it in a very myopic way, but what that takes you to for the next role and how you fit for that is how you articulate. So it's how you position yourself. That's one. And continue to keep building your skill sets, which would be useful for the next one. So I think the ninth year of PwC, when I was pitching for something, I said, I'm bored. I've been here too long. Being a 4G kid as well, moving around was something that I always looked forward to. And I'd been in Singapore for too long. So we took the decision to move somewhere out of Singapore, my family and me. And New Zealand happened. It was what I asked for. It was the skill sets that I built through these transformations that was of use to New Zealand as a market at that time, change management, and then talking to that and building a practice there. So everything forward, that you're doing now sets you up for something else going forward. And I think whether it's in India or whether it's abroad, you or in any other country, networks, proving yourself and being ready to prove yourself. It may be a little tougher, but if you're good, and you get the job done well, and you position it well, then things opportunities come easier. But more importantly, it's also about how you are able to integrate through various cultures. So in Singapore, it's great. It's a great melting pot. If you're able to collaborate, manage through that, that's another skill set that has helped me. Yeah.
Ma'am, it's very interesting that you have mentioned networking as one of the key skills and one of the I think skills that has helped you, and I think it is one of the key skills that we as MBA students are learning right now, and the skills that we must develop. So, with that, I would like to move forward with my next question, ma'am. So, keeping today's dynamic world in mind, if you had to pick, what are some critical skills you think Gen Z, that I believe that's us, must build early on to stay relevant and ahead?
Right. You already have a lot of skill sets that are of use to the workforce because it's a multi-generational workforce. So a lot of the older generations like me lack a lot of digital skills which you have and which you bring to the table. It's ensuring that you're ready to deploy that when it's required. So I think one key advantage that you have, you're very digitally savvy, and if you're not, if it's not your typical go-to, in my time, it used to be the basics of PowerPoint and Excel, and that was enough. Now it's I ask my younger colleagues and the fresh grads who come in to do corporate videos on TikTok. No, you don't have TikTok in India anymore. Those, or YouTube videos, or do fun stuff, which goes back to how you would brand us, how you would position us, how you would create innovative ways of getting the message across. So some of those digital tools would really help you, whether it's video making, whether it's, if you know of BI dashboards and those kind of things. So digital skill, that is bucketed. Knowing how to navigate, of course, the chat GPTs and the AI tools helps. I don't think anymore it's useful to be an expert on coding. For the longest time, that was, but I think now AI is taking that up. So unless you are
Yes,
passionate
ma'am.
about it, please, if you are, do that and you can get into that field. But it's not, I would say, now a table stake skill. The other is EQ. And I think more and more with AI, if we think about it, then AI can very quickly replicate or take over cognitive skills, which is all the information and data and so on. It can even give you great dashboards and stuff. But what you need is EQ, which is all of the things I said before around, being able to manage and tolerate ambiguity, learning agility, being resourceful, being collaborative, being able to communicate with impact. But back to the digital savviness and managing the AI piece, it's being able to draw insights from that data and linking it to this EQ. So more and more, a space that is growing a lot, and previously was the domain of HR, was people analytics, but now it's customer analytics. It's whether it's people analytics, whether it's many other things. It's actually marrying data insights with these EQ skills, organization behavior, human behavior.
Yes, ma'am.
How will that, whether it's advertising, whether it's marketing, whether it's HR, to the extent even in terms of finance, how people would respond to some of the ways that you manage that and manage your resources. So I would say EQ skills are the ones. And last but not the least, I would say the ability to continuously learn, right? So you cannot stop learning. It was great to suddenly start learning coding, but now that may or may not be enough. So what do I learn next? Suddenly AI comes in. Maybe there's no need to start writing reports anymore. How do I then build a further skill and pivot myself? So to be able to continuously pivot, you need to be able to continuously learn. So it's that curiosity factor, from an EQ
Yes, ma'am.
perspective, and being able to learn to learn.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for sharing. I think one of the students has raised their hands. They can
Sure.
unmute themselves and please ask the question.
So good evening, ma'am. My name is Sachin. A
I
few
said,
days ago, I was reading a post on X, ma'am, stating that IBM recently replaced several hundred HRs professionals, replaced with them with the AI systems like Ask Her, and automating most of the HR tasks. Ma'am, as a CHRO, how do you perceive this integration of AI in the this field, HR functions?
right. It's very interesting. When this was happening, I had some front row seats. So IBM here, and we do cross interact with industry. So it's called IBM Orchestrate, which is one of the things that they were building. And what that allowed them to do is, and it's what they wanted to move towards, manager self-service. So instead of 100 odd HR professionals actually providing data every time you ask what's the head count, what's this, how do you move people through the workflow in, let's say, Workday, Oracle, whatever system it is, they wanted to enable and equip the managers to do self-service. And with that in mind, then they wanted to see how to optimize. Now, when you, I mean, there is an aspect of what does it mean for the jobs of all those HR professionals then? And there are many ways, and that's why I talk about continuous learning. And I think it's the writing on the wall. It's not just whether it's HR, it's finance, it's any domain. Things will get automated, things will get AI, and so you've got to be a step ahead as to how you pivot. Most organizations, and back to if you've demonstrated that agility and that breadth, back to the T skills, as I say, would first find opportunities for you to pivot, and it may be outside of HR, and sometimes it's that, right? So how there were still some people retained, but not as much. But none of these projects were sudden. So at least the HR one, because I'm privy to it. When there's a business downturn, and when things are not going well for the business, that sometimes could be sudden. But in this case, they had actually planned it over a period of time of how to pivot people, and people knew they were part of the project. They were building skills themselves on how to contribute to this automation on the HR system and so on. So they gained skills which they could take to other organizations that were not mature enough. I mean, there is a downside to it. Obviously, some people's jobs got impacted. But if I think about it, you just got to be ready. And it's there for you to see. And if you can't read the signs, that's the tough part. It's only going to be more and more challenging. Organizations are going to be a lot more optimized. We want technology, but then that doesn't mean we, just continue to let people go. Then it's also about the individual to continue to pivot and evolve, if I may say so. So Sachin, yeah, it's a tough one in terms of individuals, but from an organization point of view, they develop people to have the skill set so that they could go to other organizations, but internally they had a long, I think nearly 1 to 2 year process where they were actually planning and preparing slowly and steadily for it.
Sachin. Yeah. Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your insights. And before I move forward, is there anybody who wants to ask a question? The stage is open to you. I think, yeah, there's one more student, ma'am.
Sure, Mohit.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Hi.
Ma'am, like I recently got an offer from one of the companies. So initially you mentioned that you were having a contractual basis offer from a company. So, ma'am, I'm a little bit confused about this right now, to be very honest. So, ma'am, it will be great if you can, like, they are having a tender of 1 year. They are paying good as well, and the company is a well-known company. But, ma'am, the thing is, the retention rate is very low. The thing which I got from the manager. So, ma'am, how to approach this? If you can throw some light on this aspect, so it will be really great.
Sure. Mohit, firstly, congratulations. Just you've got an opportunity, whether you like it or not, or it's not perfect. But
Yes,
that in
ma'am.
itself is a big thing. So congratulations. You've
Thank you so
demonstrated your
much, ma'am.
ability. Can I know what stream and what role is this?
Ma'am, this is a financial analyst contractual role.
Okay.
Yes.
Um, uh, I would just say, Mohit, I mean, as you're learning through your MBA, it is about making choices. It's informed choices. Okay. So I'm not going to give you an answer, do this or do that, but it is about an informed choice. And there's no right or wrong. I mean, I'm just one example of sticking to something that people thought was wrong, but I think I made it right. Right. And today I'm glad I'm in HR because I do think there's a space for HR still versus many other professions which are finding it even more challenging. But back to your question, uh, whatever decision you want to take, speak to your teachers, colleagues, friends, internal board of advisors, family, and as you're asking me, take some inputs and then form a decision. And once you take that decision, stick to it for a while till you think there may be something better. Stick to it for that, not for your ego. Oh my God, what if I just give it up in 1 month and people would say, what did I do? Right? That's not the point. It's an informed decision, and you may keep getting information through that process and as you get into the job as well. So even if I took up a contract role that was 3 months, it was very clear to me if they don't convert me or I don't get the kind of salary, I will move on and look for something else. That option's always open, even to permanent employees in organizations. And I always say you should know your market value. Go out and check and always know what's
Yes.
happening out there, right? So back to your question again, uh, whatever decision you take will be your decision, and that's has to be an informed one. And I don't think anyone can judge whether right or wrong. If you wanted inputs, it's one of the things is the space that you're getting into financial analysts. I don't know how big the organization is. What you need to consider is if their retention rate is not great, it's because of culture, or it's because of the kind nature of work and the tools, and maybe it's all on Excel, and while you could have done things automated and learn better skills, whatever it is that is there. uh, if you have another option and you think that's better and that's an informed decision, fine. But if not, go in, get make the most of what you get out of that. So if you're taking
Sure.
that, right, and you make the most out of it, you may just say, hey, doesn't mean that because the retention rate is bad, I am also going to get impacted. You could be one of those who actually stays the 10 years because you demonstrate the skill sets they need, right? So you may help them automate the piece, or you may help them come up with an analysis, which is something that they haven't gotten as a perspective before. At the least, you will come away with skills which will set you up for another job. So it's not going to go waste, either decision that you take. But like one would say, if you have one in the hand, you can always explore one in the bush. So I guess you still have time, right? You've secured one. Keep your options always open, even when you have a permanent career. One should not assume the organization is obliged to keep you. Back to the question Sachin had before, you always have to have the skill sets to be able to pivot or keep your options open. And the organization does takes decisions based on what is right for the organization to for the sustainability of the business. And it may be to let go people, which may be unfortunate. But if you have those differentiating skill sets that is of value to them, then you are one of those who are not on that list of people to be impacted. So make yourself worthy and valuable to the organization. And last thing I would say to that is, I know you're still deciding whether to take the role or not, but then try to understand whether there is something really wrong with the organization, right? Get more information. If it is really about bad managers, bad culture, and that's going to kill your spirit, you're not going to be happy, it's not worth it probably, right? It may take a little longer. You may get the relatively better, it's always relative, better organization to go to, but take an informed decision. And for that, you need to, as a potential financial analyst, go out and get market data,
Definitely.
and do that. So whichever it is, I'm sure you'll make the right decision. It
Sure.
will be
Thank
your
you so much,
decision.
ma'am. Yes, thank you.
Sure.
Ma'am, before I move forward, I
Abhishek.
think one last,
Yeah.
yes, one last question we can take is from
Sure.
Abhishek. Abhishek, you can please speak.
So good evening, ma'am. I'm Adrika.
Hi.
And as we heard about the term layoffs, retention, I had my question related to employee attrition. So I wanted to know, as you had a long association with Prudential Life Insurance, what does it set apart in employee attrition compared to other competitors in the market?
Did I get your question right? What is the employee attrition? Is that what she asked?
Ma'am, how do you manage the employee attrition rate in Prudential
Ah,
Life Insurance? What are the kind of policies and
okay, sure, sure. I mean, the very domain of my job is to manage some of that, right? The very role of HR, but more so as a C-suite and leadership of the organization. That is something that is my accountability, and all of that comes back to providing the right culture, the right platform for people to, in my view, as my purpose speaks to me, to get the most out of their life, what they want from the company. So it's always a two-way street, right? It's what the organization wants of you and what you want of the organization. And if the twain meet, you continue for the longest, and that association continues. At any point in time, if one of them feels that it doesn't align, then they take the call. Either the organization takes the call and hence the layoff, or the individual takes the call and says, I can find something better. So you try to create a culture which allows for different aspirations to be achieved. And I say so by saying for some, that may mean continuous career growth and skill sets. And if that's the and so back to even Prudential, that's one of the areas that we continue to invest in, continue to train and develop people ahead of the curve. So I think at least for Singapore, and I'm sure ICICI Prudential India is a lot far ahead. It always was. In as early as 2018, we were training our people and 1,000+ people on AI and machine learning, and that was a certification we all went through. And this is, not when it was so big. So when you continue to invest in skills that people feel they can then pivot into and can take up as careers, or whether it's coaching skills, which became very challenging while through COVID, the managers were the sandwich class. They had to manage the performance expectations, they had to manage well-being expectations of the individuals. We needed a lot more focus on coaching skills for managers, and you take that and you ensure you get that. So that's career growth, development skills. The other is connections. A lot of people want to come to a culture where you feel you belong. So you have the right diversity and inclusion. You have moments where people feel they can come back and connect. They have platforms where they can contribute voluntarily to causes they believe in. They can have employee interest groups where they can come together and either learn something or have contribute to things that they enjoy. For example, it's around creating digital experiences, or whether it's around creating well-being experiences for people. So people have interest groups that makes them feel they have a community and they belong. That's one. And last but not the least is benefits and rewards, right? So in a very simple, in a way, we call it connect, grow, succeed. Connect is your community and connections and belonging. Grow is career opportunities, and succeed is benefits and rewards and all those things. So performance management, if you're being fairly rewarded, recognized, is that culture great? Is that process and framework great? Allows you to shine and demonstrate and be recognized. The benefits that are definitely has to be at market or better. And if you are better than market, it's great, which is what you continuously strive for. So in short, for Prudential Singapore, that's been our endeavor, to enable people to connect, grow, and succeed, and get the most out of what they want in life from Prudential as a platform. Right, and that has helped us manage our attrition rates. In insurance as the industry by default always had very high attrition rates. I would think in India as well, and compared to banks, banks are also about the same. But over the last few years post COVID, actually, it has kind of come down. And I would attribute that to, I would say that for Prudential Singapore, is that we gave a lot of flexibility, which is something that people wanted after that. They wanted flexibility of time, place, where they work from, how many hours, whether it's 4-day work week and so on. We also looked at benefits to support them and their families, whether it was medical, whether it was any other benefits that were of need. So when you put it all together in terms of that connect, grow, and succeed, people stay when they get the most out of that. After that, they leave, and we've been able to address some of that. Does that help?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Aditya says, can you put a light on getting abroad after completing MBA, difference in Indian and global? I can't read the full question. What is it? Indian and global markets. Skill set differences, chances of getting a good company, consider marketing or operations field. Okay. So the good thing about working abroad is many, you don't actually have many companies having sufficient information about where the MBA colleges stack up, which college is better than the other, and so on. They are really looking for skill sets. Now, that also means, and let me take a step back. Over the years, and more so now, the countries have become a lot more protectionist, in the sense they want to ensure their own citizens and permanent residents and students who've graduated get jobs first. And there's nothing wrong with that, because that's where they've invested. So the number of opportunities for fresh grads coming out of foreign colleges and applying for jobs in foreign countries will be relatively lesser. So your best bet is actually to start in India, and actually India's thriving. Actually, don't underestimate the opportunity and the learning you'll get in India. A few years in India, and they will want to pick you, because typically countries like Singapore would only go to foreign markets to pick experienced people for skill sets they don't have. So whether that's technology, whether that's operations is an interesting space. Marketing, I would find it challenging, I must say, because typically within the country, in any geography, you would have sufficient graduates coming out of marketing as a operations. I don't know what specifically you would mean, because if you're going into operation analytics, if you're going into process improvement, Six Sigma, lean kind of jobs, then that's a skill set that is still valued. And if you come with some experience, again, that gives you a good opportunity. Otherwise, you may have to start in different ways. So it is becoming more challenging to be a fresh grad and apply directly, but get a few years under your belt. If you can get a direct internal mobility, whichever country it is, and move around, that's even better. Otherwise, apply then will give you a better starting point. And in terms of market, yeah, I think I answered that. Skill set differences. Actually, we Indians typically, or India is known to have all of those things that I said before, right? Resourcefulness, adaptability, ability to understand cultural differences, tech skills, typically savviness. All of this are in our advantage. So when we go to foreign countries, they know, kind of, we come with that package. I'm generalizing quite a bit, obviously, but we come with that package, so they're open to it. That's what I would say. So there's a lot going for you. Ensure you demonstrate and position it well when you position yourself. Aditya, I hope I answered your question.
Uh, Aditya has mentioned something, ma'am.
I'm from pharma background in operations, currently working in Sun Pharma. Awesome. Pharma is a great space to be in right now. Healthcare, a lot of it, and I think that's really evolving. So more than tech, because tech people are offshoring more so rather than building in country. India happens to be a great center, so is China and Vietnam and Philippines. But if you really look at pharma as a space, and even if that's operations, I think that's a great industry to continue to pursue. Healthcare, expand more subsequently into healthcare.
I think, ma'am, you have answered the question very beautifully. And I would like to say, from the behalf of all the students, thank you so much for keeping the patience
I'm
to
fine.
answer
I'm
all the
enjoying it.
questions.
I'm absolutely enjoying it. I'm here. I mean, this is my opportunity to pay it forward, pay it back, whichever way I look at it. I have gained a lot, obviously, from AIMK, and I'm happy to service. I'm here in service of you, right? So pay it back to you as you need me. I'm not in a rush for time, so if there are a few more questions, I'm happy to answer that. Let me know.
Yeah, ma'am, we can take the questions like after I ask few questions. I think maybe
Sure.
we can take a few more questions later.
Okay.
So, ma'am, moving forward, during my summer internship in the insurance sector, I had noticed an increasing focus on technology and customer centricity. Now, the insurance sector is often admired for its innovation and trust building, whereas in India, there's still room for growth in public perception. So, from your vast experience, what difference do you see between the global and Indian insurance industries? Secondly, what lessons can Indian insurance learn to enhance trust and engagement?
Interesting. Actually, I truly feel, and I'm saying this even from the 2002 to 2005 that I was in India, insurance industry was a lot more mature in India than it was anywhere else. And I say this for a few reasons. Since we privatized and there were a lot of players, there's a lot of competition, and a lot of competition brings out a lot of innovation. So, in terms of whether it was customer centricity and understanding customer needs better, automating, investing in technology, a lot of innovation and maturity was always there in the market. And that's not just for the insurance industry, it's for a lot of things, including now most of the startup ecosystem. Right. The perception for insurance by default globally will always be less sexier than the banking. Right. So it's always like, oh, bank is a bank is a bank. But I would say you shouldn't be choosing careers based on what seems to be hot now and is not hot. It's back to what you think you have a passion for and are connected, if you really are, to the purpose of that organization. So for me, if I was to say, hey, if today tobacco is a big industry, it just doesn't work for me, and I would find it misaligned with my values. But I may have a great opportunity there, a great salary, and so on. It's a call I need to take in terms of whether I want to gain the skill sets for a short time and move. So early in your career, you don't have much choice. But subsequently, it's a choice of, does that industry and what it does align with your values, and you are, able to sustain with that. So for me, insurance was something that surely has a larger purpose. It contributes to society in times of need, when people really are in need during a medical emergency, a health problem, or when someone's demise. The family really benefits when they have that insurance, and it seems like a long term thing. Many people don't invest in it, but
Yes, ma'am.
when you need it, it really does give you that assurance and the family. So there is definitely a higher purpose that this industry delivers. I think that the perception of insurance being not so great happens because of the agents. So there's a lot of agents. That's how most of the insurers sell, unless you're a digital insurer purely. And they are like the, self-employed, independent gig workers, and the quality may suffer and what you get out of there. So it doesn't seem like a professional workforce to many. But that goes back to the organization, and hence when you choose the organization, that's back to looking at roles in an insurance industry and whether that's the perception of it. uh, Again, go back to what is it that the culture of that organization is, insurance or banking. You could have a terrible bank which has a hire and fire culture. Just because it's the top of the tops doesn't mean that's the best place to go apply. You could actually have a lower rung insurance company, but it's got forward looking culture, technology investment, development opportunities for people. That's where you will grow. So invest in yourself, and automatically, of course, then you'll invest in the company. But it's not just because it doesn't seem like a fun place to be. Would you have the opportunity to shine there, is what I would say. So that's the way I look at even insurance, and the perception is changing. You're right. Even in India, it may be tough to change over a period of time. I remember even when I was applying, my dad was like, "Oh, it's you've gotten into insurance and it has a linkage to ICICI Bank. Maybe you can transfer to ICICI Bank." At that time as well, it was a case of, why don't you apply for a bank? But now, obviously, over the years, as he's seen that evolve, and I've seen the industry evolve, I think it's just a smaller gap to close, and more so because of the workforce professionalizing a little more, as well as it digitizing. So previously, it was your LIC man going from house to house, and the auntie coming and giving you policy and really pushing you to buy it and pestering you. There's a lot more remote advisory technology. The complexity of the products that are being sold needs a higher level of competence, and it's not enough just for the auntie to go out and sell it, right? So it's more of that. It's getting more professionalized, more sophisticated, and the right company will give you the right branding for you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, you have made us proud. I definitely know that you've made your father proud. So, so ma'am, as you mentioned earlier, that you should go for the industry that you resonate with, that you feel aligned with. So, as a fresher, how do I understand, what factors do I look for when I see an industry? So, which industry am I aligned to? Which industry do I resonate with the most? So, how do I understand that? Which factors do I look at?
To be honest, let's be practical first, right? You may not have the um, benefit of choice when you're applying first up, right? There's a few organizations that come to campus. A few of them, may or may not be recruiting. So your so-called dream industry, if you have one, if it's technology or if it's bank or whichever it may not be on offer. So when you actually are going in first up, don't be so choosy about the industry first. The only thing that you should be mindful is if you really don't want it. So like I said, if tobacco industry doesn't sit well with you, or mining industry doesn't sit well with you because there are the downsides and there's climate impact and various other things that are there, and that you're very clear, then that's in your no list. Then the rest should all be open. So I would assume there would be a bigger pool of industries which are actually open for you. You go in and go for a company, doesn't matter which industry, which provides you that opportunity that you're looking for. Like I said, it allows you to grow. It gives you a great culture, the space to shine. And the role that it's giving you is after an MBA, you would hope that it's going to give you a value adding role. But that doesn't mean from day one it's going to give you a management role. It's going to give you a higher order skill sets role always. So be ready to roll up your sleeves. But it's the opportunity that you see. I did not stick to the insurance industry purposely because that's the only thing I love about it. I actually stuck to the job and the passion I have for HR. Tomorrow, if I find this place, I have done my work here and I have a role in pharma, and that's the role that I can contribute and grow for the next few years, I'd go for it. So it's where does your passion take you? I don't know how many of you know of this concept called Ikigai. It's a Japanese
Yes, ma'am.
philosophy, and it is a very simple framework. And I always keep that in mind. It always, you need to keep reviewing it. It's what you have passion for, what skills you have, what skills you can be paid for. Sometimes you have the skills, but there's so many of us in the market, you're not going to get that. So is that the
Yes.
right thing? And what does the world need? And sometimes world doesn't need so many coders. The world doesn't need so many people in a certain market. You've got to continuously evaluate that. So every few years, you've got to continuously evaluate those four factors and see, do I need to pivot? And then look for. So if that's what you'll use right now and the four areas and say, okay, maybe I can meet three of those right now, and I'm going to go apply for that job and choose. So don't box yourself into anything when you're starting your career.
Yes, sure, ma'am. Definitely, ma'am. And I think that what you have said is something that is more on the personal side, what personally you feel aligned with. And talking about moving on the personal note, despite the perceptions, what has made you personally stick to the insurance industry and find purpose in it? Since you moved to the consultancy, you have taken the consultancy role, and then you have moved back to the insurance sector. So, ma'am, can you please put light on that?
Sure. Just as I was saying, it wasn't the industry that I have followed. I've followed my passion and where I can. I'm an opportunist. I would say that, right? I'm an opportunist where I get the role where I can do deploy my skill sets the best.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
when I started with ICICI Prudential, did the 3.5 years, I had to restart here in Singapore. It was the skill sets of recruitment and HR that I'd learned, and I was applying that. I built business development skills through that recruitment piece and HR. And so I went into consulting in PwC to actually deploy that business development consulting skill set. And then, of course, I expanded into the various other fields. When I went into, when I asked for the mobility experience for New Zealand and then we were coming back, it was a case of I was bored. I have 10 years of PwC and I thought I wanted to do something different. And everything that I'd learned till then as skill sets, I wanted a role that would set me up, and would be that next role and would deploy all of this. So when I joined Prudential Singapore, it was heading what we call a center of excellence for HR. I was managing all the various expertise functions, the specialist functions, rewards, culture, talent, workforce analytics, planning, so on. And typically, for those who may not be in the HR stream, it's the business partnering arm, the shared services in the team, and the specialist COE. So all my consulting experience had given me the skill sets across all of these functions to actually set up one for Prudential Singapore and lead it. And that was awesome because it really set me up because I felt I was at my best. And when I was at my best, I could actually contribute more. It also had the right culture for me because there was this whole transformation that was going on, culture transformation around innovation, collaboration, and it was breaking boundaries. And I was part of that journey. And I'm one who likes to continuously innovate. I'm curious. It worked and aligned with what my values were and gave me the space to really shine, if I may say so again, right? So I'm an opportunist. It gives me the platform. It works for me. It has worked for me for 7 years. And I hope it does going forward. But I'll have to reevaluate at any point in my life and career again to say if that ikigai, the four things don't work, they don't need my skill sets, or I don't think I have passion in this space anymore, I will pivot again. And that will not be about the industry, it would be about the role and what I can bring to the table.
Yes. Ma'am, I would just like to mention that our esteemed registrar sir has put a message up on the chat. So,
Oh,
it,
hello, Colonel Bomnik. Thank you so much for that. And I didn't understand much. Keep in touch and God bless. Okay. Thank you for that. God bless you too.
yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, my next question would not be much of a question. It is just a 60-second rapid fire round.
Okay.
So, before we move forward to that, I would like to again open the stage to the students who want to ask questions.
Sure.
They're open. They can feel free to ask the questions to ma'am. Go ahead.
Yeah, ma'am.
Hi, Mohit. Okay. The two, is it? There's
I
Venkat.
think ma'am, it's
Yeah,
Ojaswa who.
yeah, I'm Tarun. Okay. Uh, hey, good evening, ma'am.
Hi.
Actually, when you were saying about the skills as a needed for fresher, so I've heard a term called EQ a couple of times by you. So as we know that EQ is something which is very volatile in nature. So how do you evaluate someone? I mean, an interview whether he's rich in his EQ or poor. How do you
Mm.
that?
Yeah, I wouldn't use the word volatile. It could be subjective to some extent. We want to ensure that your emotional quotient is not volatile in an interview, right? We want to ensure that it's quite stable. How do you do that? For those who are very experienced in behavioral interview techniques, then there are questions they'll ask you about situations. Uh, you had a tough situation. What did you do in that? They try to understand how did you deal with a certain problem. You had to manage a certain situation and collaborate or teamwork. How did you do that? So when you hear through those behavioral responses, they're looking for behaviors. That's why I said learn to position yourself and communicate about what skills you bring. It's very important. And so, as a trained behavioral interviewer, you would get some of that. The other one is organization. Like for my organization, we do psychometric tests. Those are tools that also assess something, and Conferry or it could be there are many other tools out there that actually get you to assess this, and we look at consistency. So there are many ways, and one is looking for consistency in your responses, looking for examples that you may share, and then make an assessment.
Thank you so much, Ojaswa, was it? Uh, I think, ma'am, I would like to mention that there are students from the senior
Sure.
batch as well, from MBA
Sure.
25, 24.
Oh,
So they've also joined the meeting to listen to you. So I would like to thank you. I would like to thank all of you from the current batch, from the junior batch and the senior batch for joining this session. And I think I can confidently say that we can move forward.
I see one
So
hand
before we,
raised. Is that done? If it's done, it's fine.
I think that's done.
Okay.
Yes. So, ma'am, before we move to wrapping up the session, quick 60-second rapid fire game. So, there'll be just short, fun answers from your end, would be acceptable.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
first would be what is the one mantra that you live by?
I truly believe in the saying, if it's to be, it's up to me. And so for me, it's the personal agency. I have the power to craft my story and have a voice. So if it's to be, it's up to me.
Okay. And next, a book or podcast you would like to recommend? A book or a
I
podcast, ma'am?
a book or a podcast. A lot more podcasts nowadays. It's easy to absorb and it's quick. Different depends on the topic, but I have apps, for example, McKinsey or Deloitte, and these are all free apps which give you various articles as well as podcasts. So various different domains and topics, because it's a mixed group here. I would say there are many podcasts which give those perspectives, and my intention is to hear different perspectives, and then I can form my own. So these are the ones that I go for.
Okay. And what is your favorite memory of AIMK?
Oh, lots like I was saying at the beginning, but I think I miss the Kolkata rolls at the cafe. Doesn't exist anymore, but I know we used to have fun eating it.
And one leadership trait that you really admire in others.
Many, because I can always be better in many things, but I think oratory skills. So the ability to communicate and inspire people into action, that's something that I really want to continue to hone and I look up to.
Yes, ma'am. And your all-time favorite movie or TV show?
Oh, lots. I watch a lot. I binge watch a lot as well. If it was fun, I mean, it'll date me. Andaz Apna Apna, Dil Chahta Hai. Those are my favorites all time. The more recent ones, in terms of there have been more series on the various OTT platforms. So I just saw Dupaiya. I thought it was very nice on Amazon, I think. And if it's really a fun management one, which you could enjoy, but at the same time learn a little bit of leadership or different style of leadership is Ted Lasso, which is on Apple. So that's a great series to watch. I'd recommend.
Okay. And ma'am, if not HR, as you've already mentioned that you are the jack of all trades. If not HR, what alternate career would you have chosen?
I've thought about this before. So I think travel journalists, because it's in my
Okay.
genes and in my DNA to want to continue to move around and travel and explore different cultures. It comes from the army background, of course. So I think I would be a travel journalist.
That is great, ma'am. And are you an early morning productivity person or a late night thinker?
Oh, definitely early bird, 5 a.m. to get things done.
Ma'am, I think the current generation is the quite opposite of it, as I
The
have
late
seen
the late
experience.
night is for partying, for binge watching TV. So do both. It's not. It doesn't mean I sleep early either. So, but it's. I think there's a lot of focus time and peace in the morning to get things done, and you are ahead of the rest of the team if you are early.
Very true, ma'am. And one last question. One thing you miss most about the student life?
Miss most about student life. Oh, I don't think I really miss anything because I ensure I bring in all the components of family fun and whatever masti that was there and learning. So I would say I'm a student for life. I and student of life, if I would put that into a catchphrase, because I'm continuously learning and I'm continuously looking to ensure all aspects of that student life, if you may, are met some way or the other.
That is a very great answer, ma'am. Ma'am, that is all from my end. Thank you so much, ma'am, for such an enhancing and, of course, a heartful conversation. Each insight you have shared with all of us, from building skills and embracing the transitions as it comes by and to finding purpose, was truly powerful. And we at Army Institute of Management Kolkata and the students of MBA-27 batch 28 and all the seniors that have joined with us today, we feel immensely proud, ma'am, to call you one of our own.
Thank
And we
you.
hope this is just the beginning and we continue to learn from your leadership journey. Thank you once again, ma'am, and thank you to everyone who has joined today.
Thank you all for spending your afternoon with me, and I'm truly honored, humbled, and it's been a pleasure interacting with all of you. Feel free to connect, and I hope to be able to come visit the campus one day. It's been
Surely,
20
ma'am.
plus years for sure, and it's definitely a new and better campus, I'm sure.
Yes, ma'am, it definitely is.
Great. Aditya, I'm on LinkedIn. Just search for me and connect. It's Neetha Nair. You'll see Prudential Singapore. Yeah.
I'll share the LinkedIn ID across the
Sure.
WhatsApp.
Thank you all. It was great fun. All the best for you all of you.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you, everybody. Bye. Bye, ma'am.
Bye.